Viewers, welcome to TV Metro Mail. I am Emam and you are watching Chit Chat. In our summer edition, we are trying to talk to or interact with our youth, young adults. We like to read their minds. We like to know what they are thinking about their life, their future, their fear, their dream. We like to capture all those things. My today's guest is Shairi Islam Lamia. Lamia, welcome to our show. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
So how are you doing today?
I'm good.
And how was your day today?
It was good. Busy with work. Worked pretty late, but all good.
So where do you work?
I work for a large retail corporation in Canada, and I work under the marketing department.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So how was your day? In the because this is the evening. So when did you start your day, and what you just give our audience an idea about how you spend your typical day when you are working?
Okay. My day starts pretty early. I wake up around 8 o'clock and then I have work at 9. If I go into the office, I wake up earlier, but now with work from home, I'm able to work, sleep in a bit and work a little bit later. But usually I work from 9 to 5, 9 to 6, depending on kind of the projects I'm on. I actually have a photo shoot tomorrow that I'm hosting for my work. So busy day today, spend a lot of it gathering the supplies I need, working with my production team, coordinating with all of the models that are going to be in the shoot. So busier day than usual, but generally my work is always busy, but it's fun and I enjoy it. So
that's good. Exciting, day you are having today.
Yeah.
So if I, the purpose of our, your visit or our interaction today.
Yeah.
So as I said that we like to read your mind. So it's not very easy because sometimes people at our age, we don't understand the youth or young adults like you. So we like to understand you guys better. That is the purpose of the whole, the point of the show. So if let me start with, let me brief you about the way we are planning. We have set of questions. We are asking everyone, those who are young adults like you, we will be giving them or asking them the same set of questions, but definitely is an informal chat, so we'll also have some other aspects of their life because everybody's life is different, not the same.
Yeah.
So let me start with simple one. Then if I like to ask you that if you like to explain yourself very briefly or in 3 words or 4 words, you must have heard about the elevator pitch. Or if I ask you to give an elevator pitch about yourself, what would be that?
Oh, elevator pitch is hard, but I think if I did it in 3 words, it would be kind. Number 1, I'd like to think I'm a nice person. Number 2 is ambitious. I really like to succeed at what I do and strive to continuously better myself. And my 3rd word would probably just be funny. I think I'm fun to hang around with my friends. And so I'd use those 3 words to describe myself.
And we hope that this today also will have some fun.
I hope so.
Okay. So, you said that you have given us an idea about your typical work day, what you are doing. And even when you tried to explain yourself, you said certain things which all are related to actions. I mean, you wanted to do something. So whatever we do for our life, whatever we do, yourself, your parents, ours, whoever. So, but unfortunately, often we don't think about the, or forget to look at the motto of our life. We just keep working on certain things or doing things, regular routine. So if I ask you that, what is the motto of your life? So how do you like to explain that?
Yeah, I think something that I like to live my life by is that everything happens for a reason. I think when I was a little bit younger, I used to stress out over certain things not going my way, if I didn't get a job or I got a bad grade. But I think in hindsight, I realized everything works out in the end, and something that happens, whatever it is, whether it be good or bad, whatever happens now, it can change what happens in the future. So I guess that's kind of the motto I like to live my life by, that everything happens for a reason, and just to trust that it's all going to work out with time.
Okay. So you said that everything happens for a reason, right? Many of us, we don't want to acknowledge that. We always complain that why this is with me, or why this has happened to someone else, why not with me. So how did you get this reasoning in yourself that everything happens in life for reason?
I think there's just a lot of like random examples of things in the past dictating a lot of things in the future, kind of like the butterfly effect, but I can give you two right now.
Yeah.
So the first one is recently with my friend. He just got a really nice job, kind of his dream job, but I know a couple years ago he was really upset because he wouldn't get these like super high, like prestigious jobs that he was looking for, and he ended up at a smaller firm. And he told me later on that because of the experience he got at the smaller firm, he was able to 2 years later land his dream job now, right? So although he was upset in the past that, oh, this is a smaller firm, it's maybe not the job that I want right now, that experience actually helped him get the dream job later on, right? So that's one example of something that happened to my friend. Another example is actually related to my mom. So my mom had a childhood friend from Bangladesh back when she was really little, grew up with them. And they both ended up moving to Canada, lived in different areas. But her daughter ended up becoming my neighbor in university because we both lived away. And she ended up in my friend group, and a lot of my friendship and my experience in university was dictated because my mom knew her mom years and years ago, right? I had no connection to her other than her mom calling my mom, being like, where should she live? And she ended up living right beside me, and that impacted my future friendship a lot. So, you know, the first experience I gave you was looking at 2 years. What happens then dictates 2 years. But the latter experience was something that happened 20, 30 years ago, right? When my mom was young. And that little friendship that she had impacted my friendship literally 30 years later, right? So I'd like to look at these examples of like whatever, whether it be 2 years, whether it be 30 years, everything just kind of happens, and everything has a piece in your story of life.
Okay, that's great. You know, before I move to the next question, because as I said that we have set of questions, right? So as you said that everything happens because of a reason. Or so does it mean that when I am suffering, it has some, you know, how do you like to explain that one? When someone is suffering, if you go and say that, you know, you are suffering, I know, but it has some reason. So how do they feel, or how do you like to conceptualize that?
When you're in a bad situation, there's two ways you can look at it, kind of glass half empty, glass half full. If you think you're suffering and you think this is it, or I like to explain it, I guess, there's this like psychological theory called I forget what it's called.
But your whole concept, or you know, the perception has come from religion, or has come from real life story?
Not necessarily religion. I think it's more. There's this concept I learned in psychology in one of my classes where it's I forget what it's called, but it's a specific theory where it says that your mindset dictates your actions. So for example, if you believe that you can't achieve a goal, just naturally you're not going to try as hard, and because of that you're not going to achieve that goal. Versus if you think that you can achieve a goal, you're going to try your best, and those actions will help you then achieve that goal, right? So I think that stuck out to me a lot in school, and that kind of dictated my thing. So I think if you are in a bad situation, you can take it in a bad way, and you can think, oh, I'm not going to do better, and then my life sucks. And because you think like that, your life will suck, because you're not going to take the steps necessary to improve your life. Or if you are in a bad situation, yes, it is a bad situation. Don't want to invalidate that, but you can think, okay, what can I do? Whether it's I learned a lesson and I'll be better next time, whether it's, you know, this is going to build my character, it's going to make me tougher, or it's just.
And even when we suffer, we learn a lot, in fact. So we learn more from our suffering rather than when we are happy.
Oh, it's called the self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's right.
Like
that's
psychological
right.
Theory.
That's good. I think anyway, this is a good aspect of your, you know, concept of the way you are looking at your life. Now let me move to the set question again. So whatever we are doing for many reasons, as you said. Even here, when we do something, we do. Say for example, this show. We are doing that because we would like to read your mind, or to see how our young people looking at the world, or their life, or their future. So we need to understand them better. So if I just ask you that what would you like to do, because often, you know, we complain, oh, I should have done this, but because of the limited resource, because of the money, I could not do that. Or if I wish I have that much of money, I could have done this. So if the money is not an issue, if the resource is not unlimited, So what would you like to do with your life right now?
Yeah. I think if money wasn't in question, something I would do is travel around the world and just experience other cultures. Like, I'm very interested in people and how people live their lives differently. I'm just very nosy and I like to know what's going on in everyone else's life. So if money wasn't a barrier, if I didn't have to work and have a job, I would be traveling and just learning about other cultures. I also think I would still work in some sense. I do enjoy the work that I do. Maybe more, rather than working at a corporation, I'd like to work at a charity and try and help certain causes that I'm really passionate about, for example, education for women. So I think if money wasn't an issue, that's how I'd split up my time, traveling and eating lots of different foods, meeting lots of different people, exploring different cultures, and then doing some charitable work to help others.
Well, that's great. So, you know, you're saying that traveling, say for example, I found many people at your age, they are not traveling that much, or they have a specific fear for travel, that, you know, if I go there, where should I live, what to do, who to roam around, or many things, many issues. So that kind of fear. So that reminds me that if I ask you, do you have any specific concern in your life at this moment, or any fear that you can share, that, you know, at this moment I think these are the common fears that you think, or at your age people are having this kind of fear right at this moment?
In terms of fear, I think a big one is just becoming obsolete. I think the world right now is moving very, very quickly, right? Like, even if you look at 5 years ago, in my specific field in marketing, the things that are popular now, the tools, are like having to know how to code and all of these things. Like, the world is changing really, really quickly. So I think for my generation, something like, or me personally, I guess I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I'm very scared of like the world moving very fast and me not being able to keep up within my skills, and not having the proper jobs in the future, not like understanding technology. Like, I don't want to be, you know, the parents that type with 2 fingers. Like, I'd like to keep up. I think that's something. I'm 24 right now, so a lot of people my age are entering the workforce, so I think that's a fear. Just making sure we're able to keep up. Something else that I'm personally conscious of is climate change and how that's going to affect the future, how that's going to affect my kids, how that's going to impact their lives, how that's going to impact, you know, just everything from like borders, right? When we have climate change refugees, how is that going to change? With like certain areas becoming unlivable due to heat, like what's going to happen to those people? Where are they going to go? How are we going to have to deal with it? Because at the end of the day, my generation is going to have to deal with the impact of climate change when it gets really bad. So I think those 2 things, like overarching, are 2 fears, or like some things that have like stressors, I guess, for my generation.
I'm happy to know that, you know, you are not only focusing or thinking about your community, your surrounding, you're thinking about globally, because as you mentioned about the climate refugee and other things, these are global issues.
Yeah.
So before I move to the next question, if you are worried, or if your fear is to be become obsolete at your age, then what would happen to us? We are nowhere. Because
it's okay. Listen,
I think the technology is going so fast. Yeah, I know.
You guys have the internet, you have YouTube, you can learn whatever you want, right? So
okay, so age is not an issue then?
No. It's just YouTube. YouTube is the answer.
Okay, so you know that we are, you know, this show, we are here in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. So where you are working or where you are living, the environment you have, compared to many other people, those who are in other part of the world, we are in a better place, safe place. Despite all these things, you know, do you feel that the system, the policy, the environment, you know, or watching, you know, things around you, those are pulling you back from moving forward?
I think, honestly, I've been pretty lucky in the experiences I've had in my life. And although there are certain things, like I'm a woman, I'm a racialized woman, I'm a Muslim, I have a lot of minority cards I could play. But I think, number one, like, I've gotten really lucky with my parents. They've always been very supportive and like have always encouraged me and kind of provided me with the ambition and the strength needed to navigate these challenges. And then number two, I think my access to really good education, like I went to a really good school, and I think that has helped mitigate a lot of things. So for example, I'm not necessarily from a super wealthy background, but because of the education I've received, that's opened up a lot of doors that otherwise wouldn't have been open for me. I live in a really diverse part of the world, in a very diverse city, so there isn't necessarily that fear of, oh, I'm racialized, or oh, I'm a part of a minority religion in this area. So I think I've been really lucky just due to my circumstances, due to the environment that I'm in. But there are definitely a lot of issues that other people who may not have gotten certain privileges that I have will definitely face.
So despite all these things, you say that all positive things that you are experiencing right now, despite all these things, do you think that you are missing something? Despite all these things, still we miss something.
No, like I said, like I think like I've been very, very lucky in my life, and I recognize that I've been very privileged.
Yeah, we should.
But I think the thing I'm missing is time. Like I said, I work a lot, and then I try and see my friends as much as possible. I feel like I'm just running out of time. I don't have enough hours in the day to like actually sit and just focus on myself. Like little things like being able to explore my hobbies, right? I'm constantly doing stuff, so I'm tired and I don't have much time for myself. I know it's like a little complaint. Definitely could be worse things in life, but I'd say that is kind of what I'm missing in my life. I think everything else, like I'm pretty grateful that like.
Okay, so you're saying that you're missing time because time is going so fast.
Yeah.
Lamia, I understand that you are quite socially aware person, because you talked about the global environment. You mentioned about the refugee issues and other issues. So let me ask you now that whatever we are doing, the way we would like to live our life, or the system or the policy which will help us to facilitate our lifestyle or our environment, that many of those depends on the socio-political issues or policies, or so do you think that our whatever socio-political issues you are facing or we have, sometime you think that those are sometime pulling us back, or those are the main obstacle for achieving certain goals or something?
Yeah. So I think when we look at injustice in the world, there's two types. There's systematic oppression, and then there's individual oppression. And I think the systematic one is far more dangerous and harms more people.
We can't see that in often, but
I think we don't realize how impactful systematic oppression is, whether it be on the education system, whether it be on the justice system, whether it be in politics. Like, it dictates how everyone lives their lives, and it dictates really big things.
Yeah.
Obviously, individual oppression, things like individual racism, sexism, that's obviously very, very impactful in our day-to-day life. But I think actually both are important. It's just different. Each of them affect different issues, and like on a larger scale versus a smaller scale.
So you're saying that there are in our socio-political system, there are certain things which is systematically being pushed in the policy, and which has some impact on our life.
Yeah,
that's what you mean.
If you're asking about whether the world is just or unjust,
that's what I wanted to ask you. But the way you are responding to my earlier question, I found that you will so know the world is not just.
It is
so
not
what
just.
would be what would be your take?
Yeah, so I think even if we take Canada for example, right, like if we look at it in all the different lenses, the way we treat our Indigenous community, the way we treat the Black community here, from whether it be the criminal justice system, the way we criminalize them and put them in jail on far larger levels in relation to the amount of people within the population, whether we look at the education system, right? So I guess the justice system is more racially unjust. If you look at the education system, it's very inequitable from a wealth perspective, right? Like I got the opportunity to go to a school that was very expensive, pretty like elite. And as soon as I got there, I realized like the education system is geared towards those that are wealthy, those who are privileged, or most oftentimes white. And that's something that affects you at all levels, right? To be not just to get an education, but to get a high quality education, there are barriers present. Whether we look at healthcare, right? Like again, the Black community is mistreated within healthcare. Women, our bodies are policed on far greater levels than those of men. With the recent overturning of Roe versus Wade, like in every single level of government and every single, like whether it's healthcare, whether it's tech, whether it's education, there is injustice. And and there are lots of issues, and that's in Canada, right, which is one of the most free and one of the nicer places to live, right? When you go out into the rest of the world, it becomes more serious, like sexism, misogyny, the way women are treated, the way people in the LGBTQ community are treated. I don't think you can say anywhere in the world is perfectly just. I think there's injustice literally every single place.
So I understand that you're saying the world is not perfect and it is not a just world, but you mentioned number of injustices in your response to my earlier question. So despite all this, when you are having so many concerns, so many injustices or so many things which are in place which you don't like or which is not we should appreciate, when you are having all these things, so how does that impact on mental health of people like your age?
Yeah, I think the older I'm getting, the more I learn about the world, it gets scary because you realize there's a lot wrong with it and everything is interconnected, right? You can't just fix one thing. Every single thing you have to fix is interconnected, right? You can't fix the criminal justice system without fixing sexism, without fixing racial bias, without fixing greed and power struggles, right? So it's a little scary, honestly. Probably gives a lot of people anxiety to realize that the world is not great and there's really no way to fix it unless you fix all of it at once, which I don't think will happen at this point. So it's a hard pill to swallow, but that's the reality, right? It's better to be aware of it and understand that this is what you're navigating to be able to best navigate it.
So how can we fix all these issues that you mentioned, or at least this majority of those? How can we address those?
So I think three things. Number one is awareness. I think a lot of people in the past have been able to get away with injustice because not enough people have been aware of it. So I think with social media now, with the younger generation, or like with everyone, I guess now, we're so interconnected, it's very easy to understand me sitting in Canada, what's going on in Bangladesh, what's going on in Brazil, what's going on in Cambodia, right? Just from the comfort of my room. So we have a lot more awareness available for a lot more people, and it's not put through the filter of news and what's going to get more views. It's from actual people at the source of war, at the source of injustice, at the source of things like shootings and stuff like that, right? Like we're getting real-time news. I think the second thing is accountability. So that kind of ties to awareness of like people are able to get away with things because no one is holding them accountable. They don't know what's been done. They're not aware of the legal proceedings, I guess. So being able to hold people in power accountable, or people that are doing wrong things accountable, right? At the individual level, whether that's calling out abusers within your high school, within your university, or on a major scale calling out politicians. Like I think Boris Johnson just had to quit because he's being held accountable for not properly, basically he's not governing the way he's supposed to, right, within certain members of his party, right? So from like an individual level to a broader political level, we're holding a lot more people accountable right now. Companies won't work with you if there's something you've done in the past, right? So that whole aspect is there. And I think the third thing, like I said, with systematic oppression, it's all about the people in power, right? I think we need more people who genuinely care and want to make change get into those positions of power. Usually it's been, again, held reserved for wealthy people who can afford to do political campaigns and who have the power and the money to get elected. We're seeing a lot of grassroots activism now, a lot of people organizing from a community level and getting people, more people that connect with regular issues in power. So I think with those three things, I am hopeful, although I do strongly believe that the world is very unjust right now. I am hopeful for it to get better and change in the future.
Okay, so in this unjust world, so I just like to, because these are not my set questions, because this is my personal interest.
Yeah, I'm talking too much.
Yeah, so you are perfectly all right. You mentioned so many things. The world is not just world. We don't live in a just world, you said, and I fully agree with you. So if we, as I said, that if we like to fix it, that is a very difficult issue probably for you or for me or for us. But if we like to put the blame, because the systems are not in place, as you said, the way at least we expect, things are not in place. So if we like to put that blame on someone, who would be that? So who is to be blamed for that?
You blame the people in power who are making these decisions and allowing it to happen, right? I like to use this analogy of if there's an issue, there can be thousands of people protesting for it, trying to make a change, but unless one person who is in power, who can actually make a certain change, agrees to make that change, nothing's going to happen, right? You can protest all you want, but unless someone in a powerful room decides to listen to you, nothing's going to change. So you blame the people who have historically been in power, right? You blame the government, people in the government who have been in power, who have not been held accountable for certain things, for mistreating their constituents, I guess. You blame corporations for certain things because they hold a lot of power. You blame wealthy men who have created these unjust systems. I think you can blame a lot of people, but ultimately it's the people in power who have created these laws, who have created these societal issues, right?
Okay, so since you're talking about the power, let me empower you with resources. If the resource is again not an issue, money is not an issue, and if you are asked to give a gift to everyone in the world, and same gift, what that gift would be?
Okay, I have kind of two answers for this, one tangible, one intangible.
Okay.
I think for tangible gifts, it would be access to the internet or access to information in general. I think a lack of education is the root of a lot of I guess just not being able to critically think. I feel like a lot of people they hear something and that's what they take it as. They don't actually critically think, is this something I believe in? Is this something that is right? They just kind of go with it, and it's not their fault. They just don't know any better. Ignorance is bliss, as most people say. So I think allowing everyone to have access to information, which can be found readily through the internet, is something that I think would be beneficial. You can be fully educated on the internet. You can learn new skills. You can understand societal issues through, communicating with people on the internet. So I think that's the tangible thing I would try and give everyone. When it comes to intangible, I try and give everyone a little bit more empathy or a little bit more selflessness. I think a lot of the problems in the world are because people are selfish, right? Governments, they just want to be reelected. They are selfish for power, and that's why their actions are based off of what is going to get me reelected next season rather than what is actually going to help the people I've been elected to help, right? Corporations also are obviously based around money, right? So sometimes when you are looking from in terms of companies that underpay their workers in different countries, companies that put their workers at risk through unsafe conditions, it's because people want money, corporations want money, right?
I can understand that you are saying that we are selfish, people are selfish, the governments are selfish, the country, they are also selfish, and that's why probably we see around us there is war. It's not only this time also we are experiencing. So if I ask you that, what is your take on war? We live in a global environment, and this is 2022, and still we see wars, conventional war. How do you?
Obviously, I am not pro-war. I think it benefits few, harms many. Usually it harms people that are unable to defend themselves, right? I understand the need for war in a sense, but I think that we've evolved to a point where it doesn't need to be we're bombing different countries and we're killing thousands of civilians. I think we've evolved until we can enforce trade restrictions. We can pressure governments or pressure certain groups of people in other ways that don't involve killing a lot of people. So I think we're in a time where we can be more strategic about how we pressure governments. We can be more strategic about how we hold governments accountable. I think the fact that we're still killing innocent people, bombing innocent people, it's not the way to go. I understand the theory behind war of to force, theoretically you're supposed to force someone who's doing something wrong to doing something right. It's not always like that. Sometimes it's about land and resources, obviously not good reasons. But yeah, not for war. I think we can be smarter with the way we try and just get things done.
Okay, I understand that. You said that, if we really want to put blame on someone, those who are in power, they should be put on blame. So, if say for example, if they are watching, those who are in power, or the politicians, or the business, the corporate leaders. So, do you have any specific recommendation for them? If you have, then please share that with them directly.
Oh my gosh. No specific recommendation. I would just say invest in the future, look into the future, and invest in things that will help the future evolve. So again, bringing back climate change, a lot of governments like to pretend that this is not an issue, but it's again going to have to be my generation that deals with the consequences of it. So try and invest in things that will help save our planet. Invest in your youth, invest in their education, invest in technology and access to technological education, so that the people in your country can continue to evolve with the times and they're not left behind. And just trying to invest in the future rather than getting caught up over. I think gone are the times when governments can just talk. I think now with social media and access to information, we're holding people accountable more. So I think the governments should be aware of that, and they should try and not only just talk the talk, but walk the walk and try and make actual impactful change.
Do you think that, people or young people or young adults across the world, they speak the same language, or you understand each other?
I think more so now in this generation than previous generations. We are more interconnected and understand each other more. Again, just because we have access to each other now, right? I can have friends in Korea, I can have friends in Australia, just again from the comfort of my own home. So I think the youth of today have the opportunity to be more interconnected, and we are seeing that a lot more now. And I would hope that we continue to become more interconnected and aligned.
Thank you very much, Lamia. Viewers, you are watching Chit Chat, and I am Emam Haq, and today in our Chit Chat episode, we tried to discuss many things. As we said that we have set of questions that we are asking to many other young adults in Canada and even in Bangladesh, and we are trying to capture their mindsets and their views, their world views on different issues, and she rightly shared her perspective. In our next show, we'll invite some other young guests, will share the same thing. We'll have interactive interaction with our next guest as well. Appreciate your thoughts and your insights that you shared with us. Thank you very much, Lamia.
Thank you for having me.